Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. This week, we are going to be talking about confronting burnout with some practical strategies to stop burnout in its tracks. Balancing building a successful business and being a superstar mom is hard, and yet, in today's digital world, it's more common than ever.
The question becomes, how do we successfully grow a business and children at the same time?
Join us for a candid conversation as we share our insights into marketing and motherhood. I'm Angela Reeder.
And I'm Jessie Valle. Welcome to the Marketing Moms Podcast. Burnout.
Burnout.
Step one, admitting you have the problem.
Yes.
I honestly think step one of burnout is recognizing and accepting that that's what's going on, that you're hitting burnout.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like as I was reading through some topic ideas for us to talk about today, and I saw that one and it jumped out at me because I think I'm reaching a burnout level right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, we need to talk about this. Because step one is accepting and recognizing that you're hitting burnout.
Yeah. Yeah, I almost wish we had already been recording so that you could catch the noise that I made when Jessie was like, "Do you want to talk about burnout?"
It's kind of like yeah. Burnout.
Probably should.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing that I am learning that I was surprised to recognize recently is that burnout doesn't always have to do with being overscheduled or over busy. Or like I always thought about the times that I would feel burnout. I was like, well, of course, because it's Black Friday and I've got people emailing me, or I overextended myself with clients. But things have been quiet lately, and I still, like a couple weeks ago, messaged Jessie and was like, I'm ready to burn the whole thing down and start over. Like,
She
I
did,
can't do
actually.
this.
I'm like, no, you're not.
No burning things down, put away the matches, walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man, I should look back at our messages. What did I suggest you do? Other than the answer is no, you are not burning the whole thing down.
I'm pretty sure it was just the answer is no. But yeah, I was surprised because I was like, I didn't recognize it as burnout right away because I didn't feel like I should be burnt out because I wasn't overscheduled or whatever.
I think that's another important thing that you just said, that you didn't think of it as burnout because you didn't think you should be burnt out. Who cares about the should? You should not care about the should. If you feel burnout, you feel burnout, no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
And burnout doesn't have to be something that's super prolonged. It could be something really short. Like, for example, I had a really busy weekend, and so I'm feeling a little burnt out, not because things are really stressful at work or because there's a lot on my schedule. It's just I had a lot on my schedule for a few days.
Yeah.
So how do I tackle harnessing that few days of stress and not making it into a huge thing that's going to last me weeks?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about burnout is that it starts with like a little bit of a lot of stress, and then we don't give ourselves time to recover, and then it just sort of starts snowballing as the additional like regular stresses of our life get added to it, the way like a snowball gets bigger when you roll it.
Yeah. And I did just look back at our conversation. And my literal answer was no burning.
No burning. Yeah. And I think that's it. And you kind of nailed it where you were like, I had a couple busy, stressful days and now I'm feeling a little burnout. And we know that if you don't stop and tackle that head on and face it, that it's like, even if you have a perfectly normal regular amount of stress week at work,
Mhm.
you're going to end the week feeling even worse because you didn't give yourself time to kind of release that pent up stress that you already had.
And honestly, I think being in denial that it's happening
Mm-hmm.
is going to make it worse. So
Yeah.
that's why I wasn't joking when I said step 1 is recognizing and accepting that
Yes.
you're at a burnout level.
Yeah. Yeah. And recognizing it and accepting it before you get to the I want to burn it down stage.
Mhm.
Like where
For
you're
sure.
in the I'm going to want to burn it down stage if I don't do something.
Exactly. So the next question is, what do we do about it? How do we tackle it head on? What do we do?
Well, I think the first thing is to cover the basics, which is just making sure the thing that everybody says that everybody hates to hear, making sure
Mhm.
you're eating, making sure you're showering, making sure you're getting enough water. We all know you're not getting enough water.
Mhm.
Um,
I
and
knew I was
coffee
gonna
doesn't
say,
count,
it's amazing what a few glasses of water will do to you.
right? Like I had a tough weekend and I just sat down and had a couple glasses of water and I was like, I actually feel better and that is sad. But yeah, so just kind of the basics, making sure you're taking care of yourself like a plant. Give yourself some sunlight and
Mm.
some water and some food and, make sure the basics are covered. And then from there, I think you could go into kind of more of what we talk about self-care because I know that you and I like to draw a line between self-care and like actually just basic levels of caring for yourself.
Yeah, which is what you kind of just covered. So first you gotta
Yeah.
make sure that the basics are actually covered. Then you can go into extra territory,
Yeah.
which mostly consists of things for your mental health that aren't
Mhm.
necessary to survive,
Yeah.
but they feel good.
Yeah. Color a picture, read a book, go for a jog,
Watch trashy TV on,
watch The
you know,
Bachelor.
hey, I'm not The Bachelor. Hey, this weekend I was watching other dating shows on Netflix, okay? But yeah, just whatever it takes to it's one of those mindless activities. You enjoy
Mhm.
it, it's mindless, it's not overworking your brain, you get to relax.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
because
did read a
it's
book too. I did all the
see,
things.
there you go. And it's important to remember that a lot of burnout is mental. So you do
Mhm.
want to make sure you're taking care of yourself physically because that can definitely affect your mental outlook on things. But the self-care and doing things that are going to make you feel better and be in a better headspace are going to be really effective for burnout because that's where it lives.
Yeah, that's true, for sure. And I think that as moms with businesses, but as
Mhm.
moms, we also have to think hard about how we handle burnout because this is modeling for our kids how they're going to tackle burnout in the future as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't count how many times I've told my kids just ask for help before you get so mad you can't see straight, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Before you get so frustrated that you can't get the words out, just ask for help. Do I remember to do that for myself? No.
No. But if you say it enough times, maybe it'll work.
Maybe it'll get there.
Another strategy to help kind of once you have yourself taken care of is then moving to the external. And one of those things is setting appropriate boundaries. I know that I especially am a people pleasing type and I want to say yes to all the things, but sometimes you just need to say no, and that will help. And it doesn't have to be like something really big. Like, for example, my husband's parents, so my in laws, just came back from a long trip and he wanted to go several days in a row to see them. I couldn't handle being away from the house that many days in a row. So I said no to a couple of the days.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I did because I feel like if I had said yes to every single day, been away every single day, my stress levels would have gone through the roof. And I just
Yeah.
knew myself and I wasn't going to be able to handle that. And I felt, while I felt sad that I may have disappointed him, I felt good for
Hmm.
myself that I set those boundaries and was like, I know myself and I can't handle that.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are important. Boundaries are important. Um, I played with those this weekend. I messaged Jessie and I was like, I need help because I had a client that was not intentionally pushing boundaries. Like
Mhm.
they just hadn't been very well established. And so I had messaged her and was like, I'm really having a hard time. And, as we say, it's important to have biz besties.
Mhm.
She was able to kind of remind me and encourage me. And I set up like a little autoresponder so that the next time I got a message, it would go out and I didn't have to directly answer on a weekend when I don't usually deal with clients. And I got a very nice response back. They were very understandable, but it was because I held that boundary. And I know if I had taken the time, even if I had just messaged back to say, hey, I don't really work on the weekends, if I had engaged at all with that client over the weekend, I know it would have come back later and they would have just done it again.
Mhm. Well, and that's the other thing, especially with if you deal with clients or even customers, and
Yeah,
in any
customers the
sense
same way.
in business, it's not that they won't respect your boundaries, but if they don't know them, how can they follow them? You
Right,
can't just expect people to know, "Oh, I don't work on the weekends."
right.
So it's something that you have to set up. We often talk about setting it up at the beginning of a relationship, a
Hmm.
working relationship, but what happens if you haven't quite reached that
Really
point?
gotten there yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So having things like the autoresponder help hold your boundaries for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think some of that pre planning or even just setting it up when you feel like that burnout is coming on so that you don't have to like take the time to think out a response or make a decision on whether or not you're going to respond. Like you don't have the opportunity to let them push past that boundary because you've already set stuff up to kind of handle that for you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And on top of that, I think Angela did really good with reaching out to me, right?
Yeah.
Find somebody that you can connect with and reach out to that can encourage you, that can help you see things in a new perspective, right?
Yeah.
So when Angela says she wants to burn everything to the ground, my perspective is no. Or when she
No.
says, "I don't know if I can deal with, a client," I'll be like, "No, it's because you need to set better boundaries." Like,
Right.
having someone else help you recognize those things so you don't reach a level of burnout that's unhealthy.
Yeah. So the next thing that you can do is to manage your workload, which is something I think Jessie is better at of the two of us than I am. Because I tend to go through cycles where I will, put stuff off until the last minute. And that definitely contributes to burnout if you're not careful.
No, I think I've just gotten better at doing the bare minimum. Like, which of these things actually have to be done today?
Yeah.
And that's not a bad skill to have,
No, that's
especially
called
when you're
prioritizing.
exactly, especially when you're reaching a level of burnout, you have a lot on your plate. Think to yourself what actually has to be done. The kids actually do need fed,
Yes.
but I do not have to go grocery shopping today,
Hmm.
which sounds like it's related, but at the same time, it's not. Because guess what? If
Right.
you pull out the frozen pizza or if you go through the McDonald's drive through, the kids get fed and you can handle the groceries tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Think about
Absolutely.
what really matters in the end.
Yeah, that's the thing with the managing your workload is setting that priority and remembering that you don't necessarily have to get to it the quote unquote traditional way. Like you said, the kids need fed. So in my mind and a lot of people's mind, that means I have to cook. Or if I have to cook, I have to go to the grocery store. I have to
Mhm.
decide what I'm gonna cook. And I just don't have the brain space for that right now. Well, I mean, my kids love McDonald's. It's not
Mhm.
super healthy. I wouldn't want to do it 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
um, for a lot of reasons, but it gets you there. And
And
there
at the
are
end,
and
you
that's the
throw away
important part.
everything and there's no dishes.
Yes, yes. So it's taking the time to recognize the important tasks, and even if you have a big task, breaking that down a little bit and like what is the next step on this big task that I need to do. A little bit like we talk about in our goal setting, when we talk about goal setting, that like reading more to your kids is a big goal and it seems like it's a little goal, but there's a lot of steps that need to go into it, like picking the
Mhm.
book, setting aside a time, figuring out what you're going to read, things like going to the library to get the book to read. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot of smaller things that you can do that still make you feel like you're making progress, but are, not necessarily the end of the big goal.
Yeah. Another thing you can do to confront burnout and maybe stop it in its tracks is to just take breaks.
Yes.
And so, what you do during those breaks is really up to you. Maybe it's back from what we were talking about earlier with the self care and then the mental health, but
Mhm.
just take breaks.
Yes.
Something I think that's really hard, especially if you are your own boss and you're running your own business, or even if it's a side thing, it's really hard to make yourself take a break.
Yeah.
I remember in high school, I worked in a hardware store and they had mandatory breaks every couple
Mhm.
hours.
Yeah.
And it was really nice because they forced me to stop and take a break.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to do that for myself. The other thing I know Angela has done is to take breaks from motherhood. And what I
Yes.
mean by that is when she reaches a level, she says, "Okay, guys, you're on your own for the next 20 minutes." And you go in your room, you shut the door, and they leave you alone for 20 minutes and you have your time.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
okay too. It's okay to take breaks.
It
In
is.
fact,
It's
you
okay to
should.
take breaks. And it's again with the modeling, like I try to phrase it more as like I need a minute for myself and less like I need you to be away from me for right now.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
um right. Because I want my kids to recognize when they need a minute to be alone or they're
Mhm.
feeling overwhelmed. That's the thing that I work on with them. And so they recognize when I say, you know what, I need to take a break for a minute and I go away for a little while. And that's easier to do when your kids are a little older. Like I couldn't necessarily do that when they were like 2 and 3,
Yeah.
but now they're a little older, and so it's easier to take. But yes, I do. I take breaks from motherhood. I take my coffee out on the porch. That's my time. The kids know
Mhm.
that mom's on the porch with coffee. Like, go find dad.
I like it. And then beyond that, so that's kind of like stopping it in its tracks in the moment, but you might need to take a step back and look at the whole big picture. Can you focus on the purpose and the meaning of what you're doing right now, how it fits into the big picture? Why are you feeling burnout? Are you actually is it because you're off track of what you want for your life?
Mm-hmm.
And you might have to just stop back and reflect the big picture, which I know sometimes is more my thing than Angela's thing, but I mean, different people are going to need different things,
Yeah.
right? So I do find myself sometimes, if I'm hitting burnout, thinking, is this what I want for my life? At some point, did it take a turn I didn't expect? And was it for the best or the worst? Or not the worst, but you know what I'm saying? Like, was
Yeah.
it a turn that I wanted or not wanted? Like, to be honest, right now, because I told you guys at the beginning of the episode that I was starting to feel a little bit of burnout. You know what I really want right now? I just want to cuddle a puppy.
Oh my gosh, puppies are awesome.
Does that mean I should bring a puppy home and make that kind of a rash decision? Probably not.
No.
But it would be really great if I just went to the shelter today and hugged a dog.
And hugged a puppy.
I
Yes.
might have
Or
to
go
do.
to the pet store. Somebody at the pet store will have a puppy
Oh, that's true.
that you can love on. My husband and I saw the most adorable little Pomeranian puppy at the hardware store the other day because our hardware store lets you bring in dogs.
Mhm, mhm.
And it was so
Oh.
cute. And it was in a little basket and it had a little vest on.
Oh my
Not
gosh.
like a working dog vest, just like
No,
a cute
no.
vest.
Yes.
So
Was
we
it
got to
plaid?
pet it.
There's something
No,
about doggies. No, it's the
in
Scottish doggies in
plaid.
plaid. They're
Yes, the Scottish dogs in
adorable.
plaid. Yes, and we got to snuggle it a little bit, and that was nice.
Yeah, I
So
think I
yeah,
really need that right now.
go to the pet store. Your kids will love it. They can look at the fish. I used to take my kids to the pet store when we were broke all the time. And I would just take them in there and let them spend all the time they wanted looking at like the rats and the fish and the
Mhm.
lizards.
It's like
It
a
was
free
like a little mini
zoo.
trip to the zoo.
I know. I might totally be doing that. Okay. +1 for
Yes.
summer break, and, the kids
Yes.
don't have anywhere to go anyway.
Right, yeah. And I know Jesse picks on me sometimes because generally when I am starting to deal with burnout, I will end up messaging her a picture of another like free certification or something that I've gotten or course that I've finished or
It's so true. Right? Like, that I went back and I looked, and that was exactly what happened
it was
after
right
you said,
after. Yeah.
"You're gonna burn things to the ground." I said, "No, no, you're not." You sent a GIF of something burning, and I
Yes.
ignored it. And the next thing I know, she's sending me some certification that she received for no reason at all, which
Yeah.
actually is really smart. That's how you tackle burnout. You're like, "You know
Yes.
what? I'm gonna do something for myself. I'm gonna get a certification in" I don't know, it was something ridiculous
Whatever.
I've never even heard of. And I'm just like,
Ethical hacking
"Ethical hacking." I'm like, "Good for you. You can
from
ethically
Coursera,
hack
yeah.
now."
It was just random courses, random certifications, those were my thing. Just
Yeah.
fall down a rabbit hole for a while.
And kinda like we said, like, if you walk away or go take a break or you go get an ethical hacking certification, whatever makes you happy. At the end of all of it, we do need to say again that it is A-okay to seek professional help.
Yes, absolutely.
If this is something that is extremely prolonged, something that you've tried a bunch of things and it just doesn't seem to be helping, go seek professional help. Because if think of it this way, if your child broke their arm, would you not take them to the doctor because you're like, "Oh, we can set it ourselves," even though it didn't seem to be working? No, you would take them to the doctor.
You would take them to the doctor.
And just because mental health is harder to recognize and it's
Mhm.
harder for others to see, doesn't make it any less broken that it just needs a little bit of help to get set back straight.
Yeah. Yes, definitely if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you've tried several things, if you're feeling like it's just too much, you should definitely seek help.
Mhm.
And
For
there's a
sure.
lot of different resources that you can reach out to, even just to get a little bit of, support, not necessarily like weekly counseling or whatever. There's a lot of different places where you can get support that's just temporary or just kind of a little bit of encouragement.
And the really great thing in this digital age is there are a lot of online resources as well. So
Yes.
if going into a clinic makes you uncomfortable, there are plenty of online resources and counselors that can help you immediately.
hmm There are even some text-based ones if you are the kind of person that doesn't particularly like to like do face-to-face, like Zoom or whatever.
Mhm.
There are some text-based ones as well.
Yeah. So no excuses. There are resources for you. Use them.
Yes, absolutely.
In the end, I think instead of us just talking about how to avoid burnout, I didn't like that
hmm
for this
No.
episode because I don't wanna just do what it takes to avoid it. Like, it's gonna hit us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it
I
like,
mean it's
you can't
good to try and prevent it, but I
I
think
guess.
everybody hits that at some there's no avoiding it forever.
Yeah, and when you're feeling burnout and you wanna learn about burnout, you're already in burnout.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody just
All
gets
the
to
tips to
transition.
avoid burnout don't help when you're already
No,
there.
no, you're already there. So, instead, I really like that we talked about confronting it, recognizing it, and how to stop it in its tracks. Like,
Yeah.
how to actually deal with it instead of avoiding it or pretending it's not real.
Yeah.
So please take these into account. Realize that burnout doesn't have to be long term, it can be
Yep.
something that you handle in the short term. And as long as you recognize it, accept it, and then tackle it, you're going to be better off than trying to pretend it's not real.
Yes.
To continue the conversation, be sure to head over to Instagram, DM us at
Yes.
Marketing Moms Podcast. We would love to hear from you. If you have other ideas about things you'd love to hear Angela and I talk about, let us know. We're always open to suggestions or answering questions from the community. We just are happy to connect with you. And if you're struggling with burnout and you don't know where to go next, you can also message us. We're definitely here to help you out and help connect
Yes.
you with the right resources to feel better. So until next week, bye. Thank you for joining us today. We're so honored this is where you chose to spend your time.
If this episode helped you in some way, please share it with another mom who needs to hear it. We're in this together.
And if you're ready for next steps, free goodies, and more, head over to marketingmomspodcast.com.
We'll see you next week.